Okay. Let's see what I can do here. Did it fix it? I literally just unplugged my microphone, and plugged it back in. So, I have no idea. Technology is weird. But we live. So this is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. This was released in 2013 by Starbreeze Studios, and I really, really like this game. Apparently, yes, the machine spirits did not like me, but I exercised them by the power of unplugging the cord. I am a god. Anyway. Sadly, while trying to fix the audio, I hit the start button, so I can't see the title. But even right there, you could see a beginning of the medieval influences of this game. Oh, yep, please do take care of uni assignments. Real life does come first. But the medieval aesthetic starts right with the title, with the font they use. Well, unfortunately, I would have to exit the game and reboot it in order to show it to you again, I think. If we see it, I will point it out again, but it is something derived from Irish Insular. It's not a perfect reproduction of that manuscript style, but the title is clearly showing influence from that style of capitals, and that kind of sets the tone for the whole piece. Additionally, the violins and very specific female voice in this main theme also kind of suggests a very medievally aesthetic, which pervades this whole game. New game. Let's get going. Oh, by the way, we are at the maximum screen resolution for this game, and it still is not full screen, according to me. So you get cinematic black bars for the entire game. So here is one character. Oh, well, tragic backstories begin. Understandable, Leander. Thank you for showing up, thank you for saying hi, and I will see you on the next one. So, this boy's clothes actually already also suggest a medieval influence. While fingerless gloves are not such a thing, okay, they're just... Right, I forgot the language here is complete nonsense. It is just sounds, which is fine. But... Well, I say, it is vaguely European, I think, in that it's understandable in European syntax with both a name and then either a command, some kind of imperative verb, come, or father, using a very linguistically common thing, da. Anyway, these... Yes, thank you. Are two brothers. One big, one little. So, the clothes here, while fingerless gloves are not so much a thing, it very much fits an idea and a mythology of the Middle Ages to be having this kind of tunic with then a different piece that is a hood, though in both cases these characters are lacking their hood, and who otherwise have very simple, dare I say, rustic clothing. Ooh, pizza. I should get pizza for lunch after stream finishes. That sounds like a good idea. But in the Middle Ages, right, this stick. The hood piece that you can see on both our two brothers here, should actually have a full hood, more often than not. Oh, we do need them to stick together. Hello? Yes, where are we going? Down to the beach. Additionally, the lack of a hood, and with especially for the aesthetic of the rest of the game, as we'll see, a hood without what is called a leer pipe, or a very long taily thing on the backside of the hood, would be a little bit weird. Not impossible, but weird. Whoa. As you can see, it has been a long time since I have played this game, and joysticks are hard. Anyway, one thing that this game already kind of falls into, is the idea that in the Middle Ages, color is a kind of rare thing. While the world design is full of color with these pink flowers, you can see our father here has extremely little color, just kind of using generically gray everything. And the little brother has only a little bit of color with mostly brown everything. This would be not... Come on. Go. Directions are hard, please. There we go. Whee. How to directions. Okay. It is definitely easier when they are not standing like this, because it fits the kind of natural instinct of a controller, but we'll get there. We will absolutely get there. Oh, do I need both of them up there? Okay. Yoink. And up we go. The only one here that has sufficient amounts of color is the older brother, though blue is not exactly a common color. Hello? Do the thing? Do the thing. What? Oh, I need to actually spin them in circles. Okay. This game is not co-op. This game is purely single player, and that is intentional. And look at that. Here we've got the old crazy monk, who is our doctor, who lives a little bit outside the village, and is dressed in extremely was essentially a classic. What would that be? Reed, correct me if I get it wrong. What would be like a Franciscan habit, which would be a little better to have minimal color, but still it would not be impossible for them to have a little bit more color than just shades of gray. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the engineering in this a bit, because there's plenty going on. Ooh. Okay, so here we see our world map, and it is actually vaguely Norse. You can't really see what the ink is actually, what script they're using for the red ink across the center, but the idea of a world tree that the whole thing is surrounded in is a little bit more Norse, a little bit less everything else. But it is implied that at least the older brother, is at least a little bit literate, in that he is able to use this scroll, and actually understand both the writing and the images on it, with some help from the obviously literate Dr. Priest guy, to help figure it all out. This house is pretty dang bare bones. Dominican? Okay. That would be the other likely guess. There are only two that neo-medieval games tend to focus on. Ooh, fun. Supporting my interpretation of it as Norse. While this building, in general, an octagonal hut of this log style, is very weird, and not really, is more just is generically rustic rather than actually being medieval, especially with, glazed. Well, you can't actually tell, but the frames at least offer some hint of a glazed window here. But the roofing here, with this particular scale design, is actually only found on Stavkirker from Norway. It's been interpreted as being related to dragon scales visually, because it is so distinctive. Yeah, I know. Directions. Hey, rude. I can punch you, you know. I know you've got a stick, but I can still punch you. I can't actually punch you. I have only two buttons, a move and an interact for each brother, so I cannot actually punch him. Whee! Anyway, so, you can totally understand that without understanding any of the words, which is a kind of interesting thing, in that, I actually kind of like it, because realistically, for the entirety of medieval Europe, it would be extremely unlikely that if one of us went there now, we would understand pretty much anything that was said. Hey, rude. So, the fact that they are using a made-up language instead of just having them talk, definitely communicates the fact that this is a different time and a different world, and I think is actually a strength for the game, not a weakness. That guy is being awful. Yep. Hello? Okay. Just need a oh. Hello? Can you go down? Oh, am I in trouble now? Oh, can you... Would you climb? Okay. Weird. Climbing is hard, apparently. Aw, and pretty birds. Interesting. Those birds are very tropical. Those birds are very brightly colored. But, again, the color here, I think, mostly emphasizes the fairy tale aspect, while the clothing fits the idea of the Middle Ages as, by and large, being fairly drab and not brightly colored. And so it's one thing I actually dislike. It's communicating the idea of this kind of medieval world, but at the cost of everyone having very muted colors instead of the historical reality of everyone would decorate everything as brightly as they could get away with. Yeah. Hello? Camera. If we keep rotating the camera, where can we get to? Yep. Anyway, we could go up here, maybe. Yep. Oh, and there's that bird again. Hello. Anyway, so yeah. The only one person whose amount of color I like right now is the older brother. Because while blue, I think, would be a less common color than some of the other choices, it is still plenty common enough that I'm not thrown off by someone who's clearly not wealthy in the Middle Ages wearing that. Yeah. Anyway, this guy continues to be. You are continuing to be the worst. But luckily, the little brother here doesn't care. Hi, puppy. Hi, puppy. Aw. We open it to the tiny puppy. And it is tiny. And look at how cute it is. And dogs. Yup. This guy is just a meanie. He has no rhyme or reason. He is just mean. And he enjoys being mean. So, we will let him continue being mean. Whoop. Woofed. Loading screens. But look at that. He got his just desserts. He's got a yellow fake hood, which I appreciate. But still, I want more. I want more Lear pipes in my game, please. Cause overall, this game looks much more late medieval than it does early medieval, though it clearly have hodgepodges from everywhere. Given that the title is slightly, very slightly Irish, and the roofing on these buildings is Norse. But yeah, okay, they have glazed windows too. Look at that. Obviously glazed glass windows. Hello? Why are you banging on the door? Oh. Okay, that's better. This guy's got green and red. Those are both colors that you would expect, and they're doing a little bit better job, right as I complained about not having enough color. Some of their background NPCs do a better job of having enough color. Aww. Kitty. Kitty. Can we pet the kitty? I can pet the kitty. Aww. Aww. Oh, he does not like the cat nearly as much, or the cat does not like the older brother nearly as much. Aww. Aww. I like cats. The significance of the glazed windows, Noob Lord, is the fact that for most of the Middle Ages, they just straight up didn't have any. Well, he seems to be terribly unhelpful, so we'll have to find some other way to do a thing. We just need to get him to move so we can drop the bridge. But first, we shall sit down and enjoy the view. Oh, wait, I wanted to sit down more. Look at this view. And look at this town. So yeah, glazed windows weren't developed until the 14th century, I want to say. Uh, so uh, in early medieval town, such as one that uses these kind of shingle, the specifically scale shingled roof, though obviously, as I mentioned, that's distinctive to Stavkirker from Norway. But in general, at the time period when those were being constructed, uh, there was no glass in much of Europe to glaze windows with. You could make glass, but not windows. Specifically, glazing it just wasn't done until the 1300s, which suggests to me and is consistent with the lamps and the metal cages to say that we should date the primary kind of aesthetic influence of the mechanics here to the 14th century, so into the later Middle Ages. But if we do that, the idea that they had the elevators would be efficient, unusually efficient, but fundamentally plausible within. Okay, well, that worked, I guess, technically. That worked, I guess. Turns out the solution is more violence. Hey, Rage Master. And as we leave the town, we can kind of look at it and yeah. So there's been this animation circulating around Twitter recently that is, I think, illustrative. Uh, the animation that's been circulating around medieval Twitter shows the construction of Charles Bridge in Prague. Ah, yes. Truly, the we shall sweep the dirt, and in doing so, get rid of the dirt. Yes, medieval Twitter exists. There's a lot of medieval historians that like Twitter. Uh, and so there's a community there, and it kind of circulates. But Charles Bridge shows how it was constructed, and it was deeply impressed. Oh, aw. And uh, that animation showing Charles Bridge has them building a uh, using a palisade to stockade the. Hey. Oh wait, can we? Can we actually shoot? No. Let me shoot. Nailed it. uh, anyway, so they build a stockade around in the middle of the river, and then they drain it out, empty the water from these posts, completely using a pulley and bucket system, where they have buckets on a wheel, and so the wheel just basically scoops out the water, and then the bucket can be emptied out. Incredibly time consuming, still fundamentally run by people, but mechanized. And then they would use cranes to help pick the stones up from barges to set them down into the river. The cranes were powered by animals on a wheel, but they were still powered. Oh, what? But why would you go for Macca's in Prague? There's so much good food in that city. There's so much good food in that city that is not McDonald's. Uh, I know it is a reference, but so much good food in Prague. I love that city. I have been many times, and I want to go back as soon as possible. But anyway, so kind of the takeaway from that animation should be just that the level of it should just be that the level of mechanization and automation in the Middle Ages is a lot higher than we like to give credit to. Fundamentally, I would describe it as semi-automated. Oh, joyous. You know, you could be punished for that. You could be very much punished for that for contaminating water sources. Anyway, the the level of mechanization, I would refer to it as kind of semi-automated. Whoop. You go that way. You go that way. Okay. Fine. We'll do it that way. Yep. Fair enough, math. This is not. Well, this is a beautiful game. This is a heavy game, and take care of yourself. So duck out of it. And we'll catch you on the next one. And there is no shame in that. I hope you have a good weekend. Anyway, automation. I am trying to say something coherent here, and I am failing horribly. The automation in the Middle Ages is based quite heavily on the idea of kind of human-powered automation. So, something like the Throne of Byzantium, which is incredibly famous in like medieval sources, such as Liutprand of Cremona, for being kind of ridiculous. Okay, so that's just a nothing. Okay, then we will go down. We'll go down here and we will enjoy it. We will enjoy the pretty music. Anyway, is a bunch of clockwork, but animals provide the power, and sometimes steam would, but more often animals would, and then servants or slaves would have to actually set the pieces in motion. So it's fundamentally controlled by people underground to create the seemingly fully automated external appearance. New Lord, not off the top of my head. There's the Eastern Roman Empire is not really as well known of a time period or well known of a place for medievalist games. Obviously, like AC Brotherhood goes to Constantinople, but I wouldn't argue it's fully set there. But I'm sure they exist. I just haven't come across them. That would be an interesting thing to try and look into. Anyway, I just want to listen to the pretty music. I like this harp. I like this harp a lot. And I like that everyone is pretty chill about it. What happens if you try to interact? Oh no. You are not good at the music, Solar Bro. It looks very modern. As well, say about that harp. Also backwards, I think. Usually, I think the lower strings are closer to the self, but it's this weird mix of like modern and medieval harps. I don't think so, Reed. I think it's that the older brother is extremely dutiful, and in that way kind of is a little bit boring, while the younger brother is extremely mischievous, though also traumatized. You go there, you go there. Hello? Blech. Don't don't drink alcohol. Alcoholism is bad. He is very much just supposed to be like a drunkard. Okay. Yep. Ooh, that's cool, Lacey. That's very cool. Uh, Anywho, one interesting thing I've been seeing with the architecture here, is part of the medieval aesthetic of this whole thing. Very kind of fairy tale, idyllic, medieval. Is that some of the buildings look really good, as Oh, nope. Things are hard. Anyway. Puzzling. Oh, thank you, AC. I was not gonna go there because, cartoonish. Cartoonish misconceptions are cartoonish. But yes, clearly, the solution to take away. Everyone in the Middle Ages drinks alcohol. Water is unsafe to drink. They all drink alcohol. Oh, I am not waiting long enough. That's going to get me killed at some point. More efficiency. Anyway, though, with this kind of being fairy tale idyllic, before I get into the whole misconception of everyone drinks alcohol, that means some of the buildings, just need to look rustic. It doesn't matter how accurate they are to the Middle Ages, they just need to look rustic. So we've seen some log cabins that look far more 19th century than they do 14th century. And like the barn we just passed is coated red because it is a barn. And even though the rough style of it, as far as I know, is plausible, it's painted red because that's what you do with barns. The modern conception of a barn is that it must be red, and so it is coded as such. So, the Middle Ages in this game need to conform to modern ideas of what certain buildings are, and what certain buildings do, and whether or not that has any relation to any historical Middle Ages is completely optional. Oh yeah, I super like that. I mentioned the nonsense language a little bit earlier, but its benefit on a purely mechanical level, apart from the cost saving of just you can have you don't need to hire voice actors to do more than just kind of babble. But it communicates to the player the fantasy of the world. And the idea that this is a thing that you would not understand in any sort of... Can I actually grab the fish? Grab the fish. No. The water is cold, by the way. This looks like it's just a fail state. If I suck at puzzles, then I can end up in the river and try again. You go this way, you go this way. Okay, directions. So, anywho, since if any of us were transported back to the Middle Ages, unless if you are one of the lucky few who really know medieval Latin, you probably would not, and even then, even if you were, you probably would not understand pretty much anything that was done or being said, and so you'd have to learn to communicate without that, and this game communicates that experience, brings the player into this foreign world, successfully. Quite well. Regardless of, the fact that the language is not actually anything real. It alternates between sounding vaguely Central European and vaguely North African to me, so it is just a made up thingy. Okay, yep, get sleep, and thank you for showing up, thank you for lurking, and hopefully my soothing question mark voice is helpful for that. Look at the bunnies. Look at the bunnies being mean to the one bunny. We're gonna help the bunny. I refuse to do otherwise. Oh look, so like here is a perfect example of authentic or accurately represented medieval tech. Because this wheel is right. I mean, the fact that it just kind of raises itself as soon as I stop walking is not. But the idea of it being powered by a wheel that you either put an animal on or that you have a person physically walk on to power things is correct and good. That is just how mechanics work and how automation works. And this house being logs with a thatched roof is authentically, properly rural medieval for much of the Middle Ages. Not all, but much. Oh, no, still sit down. Oh look, the windmills. We must be in the Netherlands. Obviously not actually, they were all over the place, but you know, that is a common and good way of powering things, because, you know, instead of having an animal or a human run that wheel, you have the wind run that wheel. The fact that these windmills are just a lattice work, I mean, look at how many hills there are, and we know we cannot actually be in the Netherlands. That country is flatter than anything I've been. Anyway, the fact that these windmills are just a lattice work of wood, is weird, because it would not have been hard to cover them with cloth, but, you know, maybe that doesn't communicate the idea of a windmill quite as well, if you actually have cloth obscuring the, panels. Positively mountainous for the Dutch means, like, goes up slightly. Like, I live in South Dakota right now, and we have more hills than the Netherlands. Are you evil bunnies? No, you're just bunnies. Oh, okay, this is almost certainly... I need to... Can we corral the bunnies through here? Come on, I wanna force you in. Force you into the soot. No? Can't force you into the soot? Little brother, that's not how... I mean, that was effective, but, like, not how you do it. Also, yikes. The messaging of that is not the best look in the world, even though it makes the person happy. It makes them really happy, but, you know, ideas of conformity and making yourself presentable to the dominant group is present and potentially oof. Hey, we're going to this place, and we just need to make sure we get over there, okay? And actually, someone making the roof like this, even if it looks a little ridiculous, was actually a thing that was done. Yep. You'd have to prepare new thatch, and you'd have to help rake more thatch in. Oh my god, he just picks up a sheep. Look at him just freaking pick up a sheep. Pick up the sheep. He is incredibly buff if he can just pick up a sheep. But go there, and then the sheep. Okay, I was worried that it actually cared what direction we were going to use for the sheep. And the wheel had to turn a specific way, but no, thankfully not. We have regrettably trapped the sheep away from his home and away from his friends forever, but that is a small price to pay. Anyway, this game is super pretty. I like the Central European identification too, by the way, given that these rocks, you can kind of already see, there's a lot of them, but they're also all really old. Very worn down, very smooth rocks. And that's consistent to me with, like, Central European verging into Alpine. And we get this lovely, lovely view of our farmlands. And the bulldog running around. And everything else we just went through. It's all so pretty. There's also suspicious laughter, which is, suspicious. Oh, sorry, it's not laughter, it's crying. Anyway, here we meet our first troll. It is clearly a troll because of, reasons. The mushrooms on his back, and huge hands, and kind of identification as a stone, really suggests troll, as how we want to think of these beings. And it fits with very kind of modern ideas of what a... Ah, dang it, we almost got to see in some detail what that thing was. But, you know, the kind of mixed European Norse medieval aesthetics. No, I want to look around at your house first. It's very fairy tale. It's very modernist fairy tale. Knock knock. What happens if you knock? Knock knock? You also just knock. Anyway, we're being guided away. And he shall fling us? He shall fling us. Yeah, working on it. Oh, I can't wave back to the troll. Okay. Maybe he'll come join us. He will come join us. But we can sit down first. And we'll take a look at where we're going next. Up the mountain into the mines. This game has a ton of fantasy elements, but this is okay. The fantasy elements here kind of communicate something about medieval... Hello? Oh. Thank you. They communicate something about the medieval mentality, which is that, you know, these beings live in remote places. They do not live, they are not socialized. They do not exist. They have to exist away from people in places that are going to be hard to get to. But at the same time, they do exist. In some cases, it's like, oh, they're in, dragons are in, not here. Not here to England was to say, in Egypt, In Egypt, it was to say in Ethiopia was to say in India, and in India was to say somewhere else. Hello. Well, thank you. You are very sweet, Mr. Troll. Don't let us stomp all over your mushrooms. Anyway, this specific reference of troll, I think, is early modern Scandinavian, largely, but, is broadly recognizable in the modern, fairy tale tradition derived off of, someone like the Grimm brothers. Oh. Not what I wanted to do. Or, even, to a lesser extent, modern Disney-ish media. Exactly, everything in Europe ends up being from India, and even when it's not from India and is in fact from farther away, it is from India anyway. Look at how pretty this game is. Look at how pretty the water in this game is. So aesthetically pleasing. Oh, we're getting flung again. 3, 2, 1. Look at how helpful this troll is. He's helping us get through completely inaccessible areas. And I am slowly remembering how to control these two brothers. And not, be totally confused by the, two joystick setup. Pretty much everything in this game, is sweet. And one of the lessons is that, while these things exist and are potentially dangerous, they are also both real, but, able to be socialized. Like, the idea of being a social outcast in that way is not. So we're going up this way. Look at how pretty this grotto is. So pretty. All these lilies. Going way down into deep blues. This game is so pretty. And yeah, we have not, I have not explained yet why this game, is single player despite having two, playable characters. I will not spoil that, but to kind of set it up, each joystick on a controller, this is controller only, each joystick controls the movement of one brother, and then a trigger controls their interaction. So it's always the left joystick and left trigger, you can kind of hear it maybe, control the older brother, and the right one and right joystick, or right joystick and right trigger, control the younger brother. And we gotta wade through cold water and get to this weird gate. You cannot reach, but I have the power of spins. So, this level, does some weird things, I'll be honest. Because, if you notice, this is all rusted, all looks like it could potentially be rusted iron, but I think more accurately we should think of this as bronze. So you have this huge space, marked by stone, huge stone flagstones, and then bronze with a particular interlace design over there. As always, the Middle Ages harkens back to Greece and Rome. And if you need an old lost civilization thing that is controlling a space, you make it big, because big equals old, as if somehow people in the Middle Ages lost the ability to make, or were only able to make shorter objects than were in Greece and Rome, despite that being factually and obviously untrue. But you reference to Greek and Roman architectural styles. And it's all lit by fireflies for some reason. Yeah. I think it was York. I don't remember exactly which cathedral it is, but yes. The Middle Ages, I think it's it is Gothic, so it is later Middle Ages, but I think it's the 13th century is when they made something taller than Giza. Anyway, it is, I think, this idea that we will see of, like, harkening back to Greece and Rome as you're old, and if not them, then to Minoan Bronze Age, is harkening, I think, in the end, back to the idea of Atlantis, and Platonic descriptions of history, and of lost super advanced things that are supposed to illustrate something about the present. It is not... Okay, so what is... We can't cross this, so we need to block the water to stop this to be able to cross that to do stuff. Huzzah. It super is. The Dwemer do exactly the same thing. As I said, I identify that probably with kind of Atlantis syndrome, wherein there is an entity, or a lost civilization that you can find relics of, that say something about, the present and its perceived relative declines or failures. And so the question, I think, is, to some extent, these are done in... at this point, these are to some extent done because they look cool, but I think there is something potentially interesting of what commentary does it offer on both the medieval present of the game aim setting and of the modern present and our ideas about the Middle Ages. Oh, okay. I see what we're supposed to do. We've got these gears that are working. And they shall work right up until they don't. Yep. Two-person puzzles are fun, because it totally is just moving furniture, with all of the struggles of moving furniture, because, you know, God forbid you put a giant sofa on some that has to go up 4 flights of narrow stairs. Nah? Is that not... Yow? Okay, they went to the biome specific sides for the sake of something. What does this do? That opens that half. Whee. And that opens that half. Success. Overall, this place has a... Despite the bronze, overall I think still actually has a very medieval feel to it. Insofar as the stonework, dark stone, and, I mean, that... If you pointed that arch just a little bit, that would be Gothic. That would be cleanly Gothic architecture. But still, these dark stone flagstones are totally and absolutely Gothic. This idea of the Gothic medieval, even though, like with white marble for Greece and Rome, that is a inaccurate description of reality, because of the perpetual struggles known as people-painted things. Truly an impossible situation. So, anyway, the brother has no way to get up, and so we will have to take a look at what we can. Okay. So this puzzle, it needs to be self-contained. Nice. Pulling on that raises the thing. Once again, we see this kind of mix of water power and human power. And so raising it off, so you have to actually manually put on the weights, but having done that, you can block off or accomplish things using simple mechanics that were well known to medieval engineers. Oh hey. Oh hey, troll. They're probably friendly. I'm sure it's fine. Anyway, our dark stone that was painted, should be painted brightly, has transitioned into light stone, and this gives it a much more Mediterranean, Romanesque feel. Just changing out the dark stone for sunlight and bright stone and a fountain does a lot to change the whole architectural style, even if overall it's actually very similar. Yay, pizza. Oh yeah, it is a whole lot of the game, because two-person cooperative puzzles are, you know, both easy to create and potentially fun. Focus on potentially. Come on. Stop getting in each other's way. Stop worrying about the edge of existence. Okay. That does not go anywhere. I thought that might go somewhere. But no. It is truly... Nope. Joysticks are hard. Controls are hard. Slowly figuring it out, but... slowly. I mean, yes and no. We've kind of seen the two types of puzzles that are very common. Where one brother has to do something to allow the other brother to do something, to allow the first brother to do something, to allow the other brother to do something. You see that a lot, but then you also see collaborative of they have to sit down together to actually do a thing. Anyway, we're just gonna take a moment to breathe and look at how pretty this whole thing is. Because this whole deep cave system, again, is very... I am very fond of it. Oh. Okay, we didn't have to do any of that. We could have just gone up here in the first place. Welp. Okay. Anyway. This is honestly not a bad thing, though, because it forces the... Oh, the brothers need to be in specific positions, which is frustrating. Even if it makes a little bit of sense. Hello? Grab on, please. Just gotta hold on tight and take a look at all those trolls. Doing minings. The idea of trolls, I mean, they live under... The idea that they live in wilderness spaces, mountainous spaces, or caves is... Oh, you've got to keep doing that. Okay. So look, this is a good example of the first type of puzzle. The little brother has to do something, so that the big brother can do something, so that the... And then you have to do it again. And so it's kind of very slowly training you to disconnect, the training of hands doing coordinated things and instead get them to be fully independent. Which is of course a significant thing and a valuable one. But it does mean I'm kind of on a clock. Exactly, and I mean, there's a reason this game is only about 4 hours long. I think the concept would get really old with any longer than that, but for what it is, I mean, after here, there's the tower, and then there's the city, and then that's it. So it's like... The principle of the whole thing, it knows what it is, it knows how long it can last for, and then once it stops lasting, it goes away, and it lets you play a different game. And I think that's great. We need more small games that try and just say something interesting with their mechanics and with their... Oh. I definitely didn't... Immediately after looking pretty good at controlling the brothers independently, I totally didn't just nearly run one of them off a cliff. Anyway, we get a look here. What's interesting here is that the trolls in this world seem to kind of fill the fantasy niche that dwarves do in many others. So it actually kind of, I guess, pushes against, in this world, the idea of trolls being in some way dumb or brutish, and certainly against the idea of them being unilaterally evil. Because while this whole thing harkens back to this, like, hybrid, medieval classical, pseudo-Atlantean, world state, which is a very complicated set of words, what it also, does is it makes it pretty clear that this is, result of well, we are not going back. Bye. Whee! Wow, no, that whole thing just fell apart. Whoops. Whoops. Trollish civilization is apparently quite fragile. But it is something with its own aesthetics and with its... Oh, you want to be on that side. Okay. Probably should have predicted that. Oh, come on. You had to have known. You had to have known that that was what was going to happen when you grabbed onto the bloody thing. Okay, well, that was a cut. I suppose I should run. Whee! Yep, the glorious tradition of Nathan Drake breaking things has bled into other games, and we just broke everything. Very Chazadim. Yes. But, you know, these trolls, are very different from the idea of kind of, trolls in a lot of media to a point. Critiquing what I just said is this, where these trolls have been horrible to the other family of trolls, and now we have a boss fight to deal with. Uh, Definite boss arena is definitely a boss arena, so, oh, come on. Don't do that. Don't be that way. Yeah, yep, you know, I will talk about that when we eventually get to Uncharted, because I think that is a better place since it does it over and over and over again. Ooh, actually, interesting thing. I may also need to contradict what I just said too, because between the bones here and the crude club there, and these two statues, which look a lot more like kind of Lord of the Rings movie dwarves, I may need to say that the trolls are, by and large, supposed to be interlopers who are industrious, but this is not theirs. And instead, you know, the good trolls go hide off and do something else. Uh, Go help people and live off outside society and don't intrude unless they are asked. Unlike these trolls who have destroyed presumably dwarvish society and taken over their ruins. So never mind on all that. This goes straight into the traditional fantasy view. Also fun thing before we start the fight. Look at this cage, and look at the door of the cage. Those are Elder Futhark runes, and so our Norse influence that I identified very early on from the scale shingles continues to exist at every level. Please be sneaky. One sneaky boy. Just gotta spin in a circle first. And we will pickpocket. And then we shall be a sneaky boy. Sneaky, sneaky. Walk along the edge of the world with exaggerated sneakies. And then slip back through here, and let's open up this door before things go too horribly wrong. Oh, I need to probably pull the lever. Can we pull the lever? Oh. Pull. Nay? Nice. Pull the lever. Now just sneak away. Yep. Sneak your way out, and our nice trolls and our evil trolls will go. So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I do have every intention, to go talk about, play, do the Uncharted series at some point. Okay, I presumably need to get... I need to get one of them up here to open up the cage. One of them over there to, do things. Oh. Older brother, get up there. Come on, I believe in your pathfinding. Come on, nope, be bad. Come on. Come on. I need you to get over to this side, please. I need you to get over there. Okay? Okay. Just be patient. And luckily, he has no vision. Absolutely no peripheral vision. And so is totally able to, Where are you going? Why are you going over there? We are able to lose him very easily, and he will never see the big brother up here. Come on. Walk a little bit farther, and then I will walk that way. Yeah. Aw. You ran around the cage. How mean. I mean, I know that that's kind of, like, smart. The only thing that is vaguely smart of you. But, oh, I know what I can do. Sorry. There we go. Nope, I was just being dumb. But, you know, we needed to beat our troll. So, yeah, I will take back things I said on the potentially nuanced take on trollish nuance. Because we have our nice trolls who help people, which is a well-attested folkloric thing. But then we also have most of our trolls who have stolen another culture and are occupying their space and are as Tolkien would describe the goblins in The Hobbit. Really? Okay, there we go. No. One of you go up, one of you go down. Go, 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 go. He described goblins in The Hobbit as industrious but not artful. Which I think seems to be a pretty good way to describe the trolls here. They delight in mining and in making things, perhaps, but they do not do anything nearly as skilled or as beautiful as this Atlantean, like medievalist / Greco-Roman stuff. Because yeah, like these guys here, you can see the implied beards and the implied nose guard conical helmets. And they have no place. They look nothing like any of the trolls. Huh? There we go. And you'll just quick close that so we can't be followed. And then you limp up. And well, visual bugs are visual. Don't worry about it. Looks like they will they do a model swap at some point soon. Yep, I'm not gonna question those visual bugs. Okay, luckily you're really dumb, so. I have no fear. And the stupid... Still can't actually open it yet. Need to pull one more thing. Go on. Charge all the way across town. I believe in you. I believe in you. Come on. And, yeah, we are mean. We are doing a murder. Don't mind us. We have done a murder. Yep, there we go. The model swapped up occurred. It spawned in the models but didn't texture them a little bit early. That was weird. Indeed. And wow, Scythe. Holy. Bishoya. And we survived the dwarven question mark mines that were inhabited by naughty trolls. Very, very fairy tale. That there is an that is essentially an underworld, populated that perhaps was once noble, but now is populated by terrible things. Anyway. Our father is looking, terrible. But apparently the doctor has absolutely no medical experience, and also black rugs. Don't think about it too hard. But so when it's actually only one day of travel. We were actually only one day away from the village for all of that. I really like that this night sky has all of these stars because that would be appropriate. Because, of course, pollution is so low, or at least light pollution outside of a city in the Middle Ages is so immensely low that that number of stars, even if it's something you would only see in very few places of the world now, are very common in the Middle Ages. And anyway, now, like any good fairy tale, we have a wolf section. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf or something? On this road, which, again, I do like, because... sorry. Nope, I did not hit the button on time. I should probably hit the button a little bit faster. Let's see if there's actually anything over here first. Back off. Nope, there's nothing over here. The road turns into just mush. So, it occupies a lot of energy in medieval folklore, I suppose, in the medieval conscience, to that their wolves were dangerous and could be a threat to humans. This doesn't really reflect the historical reality on the ground, in which recorded wolf attacks appear to be extremely low. Pretty much across the board. Like, humans were not good food, and wolves are smarter than that. They would take sheep, but they, they did not really pose the kind of threat to people that you would expect, or that you would expect from medieval material. Hey, get the hell out of here. Get out of here. There we go. Also, hanged people. Not gonna think about that one too hard. These people, based on their clothing, were almost... They might be criminals, but they also might be slaves, enslaved peoples. Just based off the historical reality. In either case, a rough execution, but unfortunately the idea of human sacrificing, or execution via execution via hanging was not rare, and the idea of public executions, even out in a rural area, was a thing that happened. The Middle Ages, for some of its good stuff, also had a lot of bad parts. It appears, of course, with these that they're executed close to the churchyard, but are left hanging outside of it. Which, why did you drop the torch? Which of course suggests to me that those were criminals or in some way outcast, and so would not and should not be buried in the churchyard. A right typically granted, or sometimes at least granted, even to slaves. Oh yeah, they do look like children, which is not great. That's why my initial vote was less on criminals and more on enslaved peoples, because sacrificing and on a sacrifice rather than an execution. That being said, though, we have a very, very churchy-looking church here, don't we? Want to see if we can take a look at that in a bit better look, as soon as I stop being bad at the whole idea of two joysticks. Okay, well, it's just sure as a church. I don't think there's a whole lot immediately more interesting to say about it, except you ring the bell and someone maybe opens the door. So this kind of like small. Hello? Hello? We need them to open up the thing. Okay, this sort of small church would be reasonable if for this kind of small graveyard. And something I really like is just how crowded this whole thing is. Even though like most of this path is cleared away, and even flagstoned. The fact that there are all of these gravestones marked is really just kind of piled up next to each other is really indicative of issues of space and the kind of practices of stacked burials in pre-modern churchyards. So. But the groundskeeper here, who does not seem to be a priest, seems to truly just be a groundskeeper, wants us to go so we can close the door. And notice we are sorely lacking in things on fire to help deal with... Because of course our brother very foolishly decided that throwing it away was a good solution. Here we go, get on shoulders, thank you. Huh, well that just clipped through a stone. Probably not great. And... watch me go! River Rapid Action Ride! And, luckily, didn't go off the waterfall. Oh, there's a bench over there where we can see it. Come on, don't break. Yet. You can break now. Thank you. So, we nearly went off a waterfall, but don't worry about it, we're fine. You missed a few things, Kosek. You missed me realizing... I don't know if you were actually here, when I decided the trolls were not in fact act industrious and had their own culture and were interesting in their own right, but instead were largely evil except a couple nice ones. But then also you missed a graveyard, and a and a torch, and wolves attacking people. For these two in particular, I could see it being plausible that a particularly hungry wolf without a pack might go after them, because they are children. But by and large, the amount of... wolves occupy a lot of space in the medieval cultural consciousness, and so they occupy a lot of space in the modern cultural consciousness about the Middle Ages, but they are not themselves... actually, that is creaking in a deeply concerning way. Oh, well, I thought you were ready to jump, and he was not ready to jump. Luckily, this game saves quite generously, and so it's fine. But now we have to go over a waterfall, which I would not envy. Well, that's not great. That is a much bigger waterfall. He's fine. He's fine. Everyone's fine. Oh my god, I am so jealous. We're fine. We're fine. We're not fine. Oh crap. We're not fine. It's October, so it's Spook Month. And... Did you not... Oh, I see. I have figured out this puzzle now. It only took him falling to his death twice. It's Halloween, and it's Spooktober, so, surprise, this was actually an appropriate game, and I definitely remembered this section. Obviously, malevolent tree spirits, especially in a post-Tolkien context, is pretty, reasonable and common and good, off of, you know, Old Man Willow and all that. He is drawing on his own traditions of course, living tree spirits, who are not necessarily friendly, to people, but the version this game does, where it's literally like trees with grabby hands, I think derives most straightforwardly from just looking at trees. No fear. Don't dive from that height like that. You break your face. Hello? Would you swim upward, please? Can you swim upward a little bit faster? You're kind of running out of time. I can't hold my breath that long. But yeah, those tree spirits I think most easily derive from the just lived experience of walking through woods at night and feeling like the tree branches are claws, and just what if that was real? And now we have creepy whispers, because, you know, it's a nighttime sequence. In a mildly horror themed bit. And so off we go. Hello. That is a very large hand. Why is hand? Why is... Nope, nope. Stop it. Hi. I hate when games start having the level geometry freak out and undulate, because that's always a sign that something spooky is happening. It's a part of that visual language that I think is... Oh, yes. Dead mother. Hello. Everyone wave hi to our gigantic dead mother. It's not at all disturbing to have dead staring eyes. And the older brother here is definitely fine. And everyone's fine. Oh, also, everyone wave hi to Dad. Hi, Dad. Brother, wake up. Nope. There we go. You just had to pet... Huh? The dream sequence is very weird here. Okay, could we be done with this? That's quite enough of that. Aww. I'm glad we are done with that. Okay. So we survived. We survived the night somehow. Definitely not through any of our own skill. But by the grace of something, we survived through the night. And now we can move on into the next level. Could you not? Could you not, my dude? So something terrible has happened here. Unfortunately, things lighting on fire and people getting hurt as a consequence of that is all too common in the Middle Ages. Sometimes it is accidental, sometimes it is intentional. In my field, in Icelandic history, there is one of the most famous events is of the 13th century is the burning of the farm at Flugumýri, as a result of Gizur Thorvaldsson's enemies using his son's wedding as a chance to take revenge on him. And they light his farm on fire, and Gizur's wife and son are killed in the fire. Gizur himself nearly dies, but he hides in a vat of whey, and manages to somehow, despite it being freezing outside because it occurred around Christmas, uh, somehow managed to avoid detection despite shivering in the vat a frigid way. Uh, and I wish we could do more for that guy. I It feels like we should be able to do something more there. Like there's an actual side story here, bigger than just it is fire. Nay, want to take a look at the thing? But yeah, uh, Gizzard after that, I mean, he processes the grief by going on a murderous rampage and then vacationing in Norway for 3 years. But also is like one of the only times, according to the saga narratives, one of the only times that Gizzard ever cries. Those are footprints. Those footprints are from him uh, unburying his wife and child from the burned wreckage here. And then the soot. Somehow in the soot, what? No. Pick that back up. Pick that back up. Oh. Okay, I need you to come this way. Fine, I can't have them run side by side. One on the bottom, one on the top. Fine. This way. Go that way. No? Down. Aww. Yeah, you can see, like, he pulls them out of the fire, pulls their remains out of the fire, and then goes and tries to... Yeah. Yeah. And that death is an important part of the Middle Ages, and is something that does end up occupying a lot of some of the most poignant moments of medieval literature are about that death and about the dangers of, well, okay, so there's one half of this. Well, just fling yourself into the abyss, please. Okay, thanks. You animated like you were able to do a thing, and then you didn't do a thing, and then you flung yourself into the abyss, and I'm supposed to feel bad for you. Yeesh. No, it looks like it, he animates whenever. Ta-da! And then those two hold themselves in place. Once again, like, I'm not offended by this. While it is a little bit fancy medieval to have this level of complicated machinery and also, bury the bridge underground like this, I'm also not offended by it because, the Middle Ages had that sort of engineering skill to do similar things, and so it kind of just it fits modern ideas of puzzles without breaking the or without totally breaking the idea of being medieval. Anyway, let's look forward here to the next thing, which is a wizard's tower. Because of course it is. That is a good place for the next thing to be, right? one wizard's tower later, and away we go. Okay. Oh, could you come on? Thank you. We get more and more fantasy as we go on in this story, which is as it should be. No, because this story. Uh, this story, like many fairy stories do, uh, describes something based on interpretation of folktale as going from home out into wild where weird things happen, and then back into home with some amount of change. Hello, goat. They have goats. Can we pick up a goat? We can ride a goat. We can ride the goats. We're so cool. Ride the goat. Yeah, it is. It's Campbell describes it in terms of a monomyth. Well, Campbell's overall ideas, the underpinnings of the monomyth are kind of claiming that there is a singular collective unconscious that can describe. Hello, please. Oh, okay, you guys are supposed to go on different tracks. Okay. Yeah, good guts. The underpinnings of Campbell's ideas are that are Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious, and so it's not just that stories share similar structures. It is that stories share similar structures because they represent a universal human unconscious that is being tapped into in folk, legend, and culture. This is a stretch too far, but but at the same time, it is while it is a stretch too far, it is something that has been influential in media, and certainly media based on Jungian archetypes and based on. Oh. Okay, just freaking fling it with no rhyme or reason or grace. That works too. We cross. Oh. You cannot do that, so I need you to be here. You to be here, you to be here, and then we go fling. There we go. We actually caught it this time, which is helpful. And spin. And then it brings the crazy engineer up. Right, the monomyth is super good for stories. The monomyth works really well for stories that are built around the monomyth. It has limited, not none, but limited utility for actually describing comparative folklore in practice, because Campbell kind of cherry picks really, really hard on his evidence. But the roughest outline of it, of being home to out within which there is wild, and then you come back to a central home, is pretty well attested across European medieval folklore, and so the loosest structure of the monomyth, rather than being some kind of rigid guide, just as a very loose observation that many but not all stories do this, is helpful for, I think, for understanding this game and why the game gets more fantastic for a while and then will reground itself in the human experience and human traumas before we are done. I'm sure this is fine and does something. Interesting. I do not know what that does yet. And 2. Anyway, Nooblord, you asked how did engineering work back then anyway? They didn't have all the fancy equations we based our designs on anyway. You're correct that while it wasn't fully quantified and understood in terms of, like, individual equations and all that. What it is based on, the fundamental principles of mechanics, based on around Euclidean geometry, are extremely well described, but even in the early Middle Ages, and are only elaborated on in the 12th, 13th, 14th centuries in Europe. Earlier than that, in the Dar al-Islam. So, but engineering is to some extent based on experimentation and describing what works and proportioning kind of retroactively once you have found a thing that works, being able to describe that in Euclidean principles and using fairly complicated geometry as kind of core. So yeah, it's a mix of kind of results-based experimentation and then some Euclidean math, though it is not quantified using physics to quite the same extent. Like, I don't need to know the mathematics behind why a sling flings a rock to recognize that a sling flings a rock, and to go from there to help build something that helps me sling a rock farther. Yep, no, they had an extremely sophisticated one. It's just not physics, it's geometry. Hey, Mitsukune. Mizutsune, there. Your name is blue, so I can't actually read it on OBS. Amazing. Anyway, here we have our engineer dude, who is clearly... Everyone out here lived in the 14th century, he's out here in the 16th. These kind of mechanical designs, I mean, he is very... Well, the crazy hair is reminiscent of Einstein. The designs and the rest of it is reminiscent of Da Vinci. So this dude out here living in the 14th or late 15th or early 16th century. I feel like there's got to be a thing we can do before we go flying away. You... Sorry. Nope. You are not big enough to do it. You are not big enough to move this, I guess? Or is it just that it doesn't move? It may just be that it doesn't move. Nope, it can move again. Interesting. I knew there was a thing to be doing. This idea of basically, like, it's the fundamental principle behind an organ. So, you know, while organs weren't developed until the 16th century, this guy out here living a couple centuries ahead of his time. So, you know, totally reasonable. Oh no, Kosek. You can try refreshing the stream, and that might help you make it a little bit less bad. But I'm sorry that it's so big. And Leander, you're absolutely right. It still is a common thing for companies to try and codify, to kind of observe something, observe a pattern, and then try to codify why that pattern worked, and what to do with it. I need you to go over here. I need you to go over here, because you guys like that. And we're just gonna steal this guy's ornithopter? Watch us go! Watch us go! I might actually need to focus on this if I'm not careful. It is very, very Da Vinci, but of course, if you want the auteur of what is the, like, a prime example of an auteur, for our understanding of kind of, the doing science, then Da Vinci is our best choice. Kinda need you to land. Kinda need you to make it to here. Actually, I need you to be not crash into that. Yep. I need you to not crash into that. I thought I needed to land on that, and then I realized too late that that was actually not what I needed to do. So you get to see it all again. Rip. Oh yeah, Da Vinci and, like, it is just true that Da Vinci is, like, our prime, such a good example of kind of very much a surprise, exceptional understanding of art and of natural philosophy and of engineering, all in what the same person is pretty exceptional. And so that reputation is well deserved. You get to enjoy this more. We'll see if I can not be bad this time and actually, like, go around the pillar instead of going face first into it. Medieval people, of course, were fascinated by the idea of flight, as everyone, I think, always, to some extent, always has been. And the idea of using bird wings as a way to construct a flying machine is... Hello? Could you not? I had moved them to turn, but I didn't, so, take third time's the charm, with feeling this time. I cannot remember specific names, because I am a historian who is really bad at dates and names, but there were, of course, attempts to create a flying machine throughout the Middle Ages and into... Obviously, Da Vinci's ornithopters were never constructed, so... Long before Da Vinci, there were people trying to fly. Long after Da Vinci, there were people trying to fly, until it finally worked. And of course, the our idea of the ornithopter is to some extent, rightly, based on what actually worked. And so you can see, like, the fundamental construction here of two sets of wings, one forward, one backwards, that is the construction behind gliders and is strongly reminiscent of the Wright brothers' design for their plane that they flew at Kitty Hawk. So, like, it is on a lot of levels. This is something that kind of does work. Please go around the thing. Okay. We have made it around the thing. We can now go. Get ready to jump! We broke the bird. And obviously, like, that is derived from birds, with tail pinions, or tail feathers, and then your pinion flight feathers. But at the same time, the fabric and some kind of fragile wood construction, the Kitty Hawk plane was based on balsa, as kind of a base, because it is so lightweight. So there's a whole lot that it kind of shows later influence, even if it also strongly resembles 15th century designs and attempts, etc. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with Noob Lord here, Kosek. Well, it's a super interesting question. What if not birds? At the same time, like, it's a hypothetical that is going to be really hard to test, because obviously that's basically impossible to meaningfully apply a test to see how it might. Okay, I need you to drop. But yes, there are lots of things that are not in nature, and I would not particularly assume that there's necessarily reason to expect someone to be oh, I kind of need you to hold on, dude. To have not gone, like, I would be closer to those clouds at some point, and from there it would work the same, though perhaps the method with which we would learn to fly would be different and slower if we did not have birds as a model. Birds and bats and other things. So yeah, complicated. It's a super interesting counterfactual, but it's kind of definitely... Oh, really? I didn't even drop that far. You guys have dropped farther in this game already. I just happened to let go of both things at the same time, and so I lost. Exactly. Like helicopter seeds, I would expect to kind of be a model, because they do actually form a foil. We need to go around the other way. Yes, quite. Oh, we are going to just swing around the entire outside and can take a look at it from here. So, this thing, this tower, obviously the scale is gargantuan, but at its core, what it kind of looks and feels like to me is very much a high medieval stone castle as we bust everything. And so a style very common in the 13th, 14th, into the 15th centuries. Oh, okay. We break everything, because apparently these stones are very fragile, and we are, despite being small, we are plenty able to do that. But, like, I would propose that this was probably meant to meant to have been built by giants, as kind of the, within the fiction of, oh, you go to the giant's castle, very Jack and the Beanstalk, type of thing, and, you know, the scale definitely supports that. Sorry, I need you to latch on to the thing, please. Nope. Directions are hard. Then you can let go and you can swing up to this one. Then you can swing across. Actually, no, you can go up first and then you can swing. Oh, crap. It's true, I didn't die this time. But yes, very Jack and the Beanstalk this level is. So, having met Da Vinci, we now go back to a giant's castle. And this fits the idea of what a castle is really well. The idea of it being isolated off in a tower, and on this huge scale is something we actually also see in like Shadow of the Colossus, which I think this game certainly takes some aesthetic inspiration from, as very many games do. That there is, you know, this something that they can kind of work off of and do stuff with. Anyway, yes. We have made it up, and yeah. Castles need to look in a certain aesthetic in the modern idea of the Middle Ages, and it is not surprising that they therefore made the castle look a certain way, but, you know, I question the structural integrity of the whole thing if two children walking around it is sufficient to cause this kind of difficulty. I strongly question the structural. Okay, that's a thing I can walk across. The entire structure, if the planks are just rotting out and collapsing, because yeah, that's a lot. A lot to try and deal with for these stones without wood supports. And the whole thing should probably be falling into ruin if it is looking this bad. Oh, we can't... For some reason, we are not allowed to climb this broken step despite it being bigger than us. So, whatever. Yeah, there must be... I would expect it to kind of collapse in on itself instantaneously. Oh yeah, an interesting thing about the scale here, notice, like, these planks of wood are not really being braced together. To some extent they are, but, like, that is an entire tree trunk made into a single length. And that's not an exaggeration, that's just, like, the whole tree made one plank. So these are colossal on a scale of the very, very largest constructions in the Middle Ages, i.e. something like the oak plank ceilings of Notre Dame from those big 12th century oak trees, are pretty much like an entire forest and then some went into building a lot of this. Not all of it. Like these planks are smaller. They're still thick, but they're a lot smaller. They're only like most of a tree. I mean, what? Let's just assume he's 5 feet ish. I don't know. If his stride is 1 yard, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, still is looking well, like 30 feet, 30 foot long planks. So big, big boys. Yes. I don't know. The reason I dropped the rope is that the gameplay has decided that we no longer need the rope, and we need them to be able to separate farther. And there is no smarter reason. We just don't question it. So anyway, the kind of the conclusion there is that the giant, who has abandoned this place, not only is he huge, but his whole environmental and cultural community is huge. And he's a wizard, because of course he is. So well, I still have not figured out these directions. There's definitely something in the cage. There's a something, and there's a something by and large small. Oh, wait, what? I had moved those correctly, and it just didn't work. Okay, fine. Up, 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 up. We're on the bed. Let us bounce. Oh, not bouncing, just kind of laying down. Okay. A very weird type of laying down. Anyway, before we get too far, while we are laying down on the bed, might actually try and get us to zoom out again. Because it is ice pack time. Because of course it is. My hardware is not particularly good if you are just tuning in. And so I actually have to get additional cooling. Additional cooling in order to keep things running at a reasonable frame rate. So I'm going to do that, which means I'm going to run a 60-second ad break as well. So things might go a bit weird, but while I do, Reed, if you could drop another link to the Discord for people to join to kind of be notified and get a hangout when what streams are coming up and when streams happen, and just hang out with me. Also, subscriptions help a whole lot in kind of keeping the show running. It's $5 a month, or with Twitch Prime, you get one for free every month that does not renew. But it helps so much in helping me, eventually not need ice pack time and be able to play more games. And so right now, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is to some extent kind of dependent on subscriptions as to when it will happen. It will happen, but whether it happens in December or in February or later kind of depends on subscriptions helping me be able to upgrade my rig to be able to run it. So just know that while there's never obligation, and you are always welcome here anyway, subscriptions do help out the channel a whole lot. Anyway, ad break time. I'll be back in a minute with the rest of this game. Oh, I muted my microphone. I'm a dumb. Uh, I'm a professional streamer who does professional things, and don't worry about it. But they are... This thing is kind of vaguely a griffin, but this kind of chimeric being is pretty well understood in the medieval world. The idea of, you know, attributes of different animals being combined. They'd be described in, obviously, coming off of Greek kind of Aristotelian descriptions of the natural world, and then into the bestiary tradition. I don't have one pulled up of any specific chimeric beings, but the idea of griffins or other material being there is. Oh. Exactly. It's a little bit to describe an elephant, but, I mean, unicorns are a little bit like that, and other kind of fantastic things are part of that whole thing. We did pet the birdie. Anyway, I was also I also mentioned something about that manuscript while I was muted, like a dumb. In the codices in the Giant's Tower, are so colossal that each leaf of them would probably be an entire cow, because you cannot use all of a cow of a cow skin when making a manuscript. It only stretches so far. Aw. Aw. Pet it. Also, yes, you should carry that with you. Don't just let that drop. We'll find a better place to put that. I'll just try to remember to always hold on to the button until then. It was a very pretty moment, but this we are now in some place very dead. Very, very dead, and therefore unfriendly to life. Yo, but yeah, not all, because, oh no, the feather. Look at it drift away. Aw. Dang you, cutscenes. So, anyway, the implication of giant books is that there's either a giant cow or a whole lot of cows. I don't know which of the two it is. Last thing about the Giant's Tower that I mentioned while we were muted is that those drawings of the griffin were very much kind of resembling modern scientific drawings, and very much not fitting medieval ideas and medieval visual styles, even for encyclopedic texts. But we kind of expect wizards are knowledgeable. That means they do science, and that means they have a very specific aesthetic of what science and what scientific drawings look like. Anyway, in this dead space, we have a whole bunch of very dead giants. Very, very big, very, very dead. Let's take a look. I mean, these kind of fit some of the generic ideas of giants, in that they are barefoot and are just humans but scaled up. But also that they are using, like, look at... Hey, I think we answered our question of do they have giant cows. The answer is no, based off the stitching together of entire cow skins to make this not very good armor, and then needing to use a bunch of planked together pieces of wood while trying to construct this. The only thing they're able to do at scale appears to be metalworking, and even then, pretty much just making big balls of it. Okay, or a giant sword. I guess they could do that too. Probably don't want to be too close to that sword. Uh-huh. Yup. Take a look at how cool that sword is. Go on. It is a sword. It's not a sword in very good condition, but it is a sword. Yes. Yes, they are. I want to zoom out. Let me zoom out more. I want to take a look at that sword. Let's see the sword. No? Not gonna let me? Fine, then we will sit down on the bench and we will examine. And yes, those do look like they are pretty much just trees with rows of feathers to make the fletching. And an actual whole tree trimmed down for that spear. Anyway, clearly not a happy situation. No, it looks like they're using several ginormous feathers. Those big vultures, that big vulture that we just saw, could have feathers big enough, but it's not using just one. It looks like you can actually see gaps in between the fletchings. So, they're actually recognizing that problem, and trying to explain it by having there just be a whole bunch, having it be a series of feathers that you're trimming bits off of. Anyway, we should be able to get through that. We will desecrate the dead a little bit, but that's fine. Oh, look! This sword is super ridiculous in every framework imaginable. Firstly, it is so wide that, what the heck, even a giant, that's the weight, the balance point of that sword is somewhere out here. Because not only is it super wide and just basically a brick of metal, it has no pommel. And everything about this hill construction says to me that it has no real grip together tang. It has a little bit. You can see it's two different pieces of wood lashed together, but its internal tang is probably not very well fastened, and so that whole thing has a high risk of rapid, spontaneous deconstruction. Anyway, this battle must have been fairly recent, even though everything is dead, because, you know, the blood still exists and hasn't decoagulated into pretty much just water. But yes, it is gross. Thank you for pointing that out, younger brother. Can we slide down this? Let's slide down this. And sploosh. Come on. Grab out. Yeah, like, these vultures are big. But we are definitely into the grim part of this fantasy, because there is not... A grim with one M, not two. Because, yeah, the whole situation is not looking so good for reality. And the fact that there is even... Like, really just that there is such a giant home to have had this kind of battle is... Oh, nope. Hold on. I am glad it is not dark, because this is not a game that appreciates that, and I think it is for the best that the game kind of revels in there being moments of light and sadness together. Huh. Are you supposed to just jump up? Yes. Totally gonna work. I believe in you. What about if you push? What about if you push together? Okay, what about if instead you jumped up here? Can you not jump up there? It totally looks like you can jump up there. And leverage the whole place around. But that's okay, I guess. Ah, okay. You can jump on that way. Whee! And the mace is big enough that it just... Were you not quite dead? Were you not quite... Oops. Well, you're dead now, so sorry. What is the point of this space? Looks like it's just a nook for the camera. Yep. We have, more of these ridiculous swords. Another thing that's kind of confusing about this, like, the giants are simultaneously sophisticated and crude, in that their swords are not well constructed. Their axes are not well constructed, but, like, that's kind of a consequence of everything being so gargantuan. But, like, they're clearly were able to build that castle. They had the engineering to make that kind of gigantic castle and to accomplish all sorts of things with it. And so it is a weird kind of dichotomy. Anyway, I'm sure that is not a problem. 100% guarantee. Not a problem we need to worry about down there. So, it's like... It's portraying them as not very sophisticated, almost as necessity, from how they just... Come on, push it over. The weight of the axe should deal with it soon. Oof. Sharp axe, though. Right, so it's just, like... Yeah, I'm just not super sure what to make of that. They're able to make that kind of castle, but also, they are unable to, make a sword that has balance? Like, the same engineering principles of leverage apply, and so if you're able to do one, you're able to do the other. Hey look! The feather is still drifting around. Did you see it? The feather has not hit the ground yet. Okay, ravens. Or okay, vultures. Why did I say ravens? They aren't ravens. They're clearly not ravens. Oh yeah, here it is. Here's a great example. Able to build a crossbow? Yes. Able to design it with a stock? Yes. Able to make a sword with a pommel? No. Ah yes, crossbows. That thing pacifists are known to have made. Need you there, need you there. We pull the thing back, we pull the thing back. Pull the thing back a little bit more, it locks in place. Small child, do you want to do the honors? Oh. We need to preserve your innocence or something. Here we go. Yeah. Apparently is unhappy about the having done murder. Ooh, hello, Horn. Come on. No? Not enough lung capacity? There we go. Also, clearly giant rams exist. Crossbows are good for hunting if you want to destroy small prey. Like, poundage on a crossbow would vaporize small prey. And you know, given the size of that, poundage on a crossbow would vaporize medium-sized prey, like a cow. The cows that they are making their armor out of. Again, I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. Let's take a look at the pretty snow melt here instead. See? Look at how pretty it is. There's definitely no cult worship going on underneath. There's no spooky cults. There's no generically comically evil things, and that has no consequences. Ignore the river, the waterfall of blood. Just ignore the waterfall of blood. Even though it means that you are now totally blood-soaked. Totally, utterly, horribly blood-soaked. Weird. Yep, we're at this part of the game. If you know this game, you know what's going on. Oh no. So, we have actual literal cave paintings of humanoid figures worshipping some kind of something with, perhaps a tail, 4 legs pointing, with its head pointing up, while some sort of multi-armed entity sits above them. Knock, knock, knock. Then we have them running their leader, and them leading as we have bloodstains that fade awfully quickly, but don't worry about it. Let me look at the dang thing. I want to look at the cave paintings. Regardless, seems to be against either fleas or spiders of some kind. Leading a war against them. And so, like, the stylings of these cave paintings are clearly, Stone Age. I am not, familiar with early humans, and so I will not pretend to know whether it is Neolithic, Paleolithic, or whenever. But regardless, is being led in a fight is clearly reminiscent of extremely early hominid cave paintings, such as those found in France. And implies a very ancient cult, but also like worship, instead of worship of, implies the worship of something at this site from an extremely, extremely, extremely long time ago, which is supplemented by the kind of Stonehenge triads. These here, which are very much reminiscent of Stonehenge and then of this kind of site. These people are wearing very unfortunate looking furs and spears, and you know, in a world that has thus far been like, you have Atlantean, dwarvish, Atlantio medieval, truly medieval aesthetic fantasy stuff, and then you have super duper problematically caveman-y aesthetics. So the different time periods are doing weird things to it sometimes. It seems. Anyway, we are only welcome in here if we are the blood. Yeah, I think that is purely a tactical consequence of... No? Oh. Okay, I see. Are double people. Do double people. Oh good, I don't need to sync the two up. Ah yes, and they are deceived by the extremely subtle disguise. Extremely subtle disguises. This is not a good look for the game, to be honest. It's not great. I'm not a fan. Exactly. Obviously two people, but they are supposed to, like, not know better. It's only once they have done a dumb that anyone realizes that they have been deceived. They have been bamboozled and tricked. But they are very slow and not able to actually escape. Huzzah! We have a third party member. I only have 2 joysticks. I don't know how this works. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I'm sure that's true and you have absolutely no idea why you were kidnapped by those goons, by those cavemen. I'm sure there's absolutely no explanation that we have already seen. Absolutely none. No clue. Wait, what? Why am I bleeding direction? Steering is hard. Let's take a look. Oh. Okay, the sus cave is pretty sus. Can we look at something else instead? I'm gonna be not looking at that cave. Am I allowed to not be looking at that cave? Do we have the power? I would love if we could land somewhere. Oh. Nope. Mm-mm. Nah. No. I refuse? You can't make me. If the options are Spooky Blood Cave or that, you know, I think I can... I think I can live with the spooky blood cave. Some sort of festival celebration. That we can't actually land at, and so it has turned us around. Yeah! This whole game is super duper pretty, and I am a big fan. But anyway, we should be able to turn, and then go forward, and then get out. No? Are we not allowed to get out? The water is not that deep. You have the power. Just... Instead, anything to avoid dealing with the something in the water, cause... Thank you kindly, I would rather not. I am not good enough at steering this boat. Several somethings in the water. Hey, it's an orca. Aww. Well, it's just an orca. Hey, turn. Don't stay still, don't stay still. We're fine. We're fine. It's fine. If we could turn away. That'd be cool. If you could also. Go forward, that would be awesome. It is also hanging out directly underneath us, which was not a great look. But yes, I mean, obviously it's a fantasy orca, but it's just an orca. Orcas are extremely non-threatening to people, in historical reality. Hello? Why are you just spinning randomly? Please. Please. And yes, it has two sets of tail fins, and is, you know. Bubbles? Okay, I see that you want to swim towards that, but the boat steers terribly. I super don't like how this boat steers. I cannot make it work. I think, like, it may be supposed to do that just because of the drift between, strength differences between older and younger, but it means the whole thing is constantly, like, listing, and it's not great. Oh yeah, Orcas don't belly flop boats. Humpbacks tend to belly flop boats. And so humpback whales had a reputation in the Middle Ages of being extremely dangerous, because they would flop. They would flop onto their boats, and it would be bad. No. Go this way, please. Please. Hello, little brother? They did have glowy back stripes, yes. They were obviously fancy, but they are also obviously orcas. Orcas... I mean, we talked about orcas recently, with Dishonored. But yes, it is humpback whales that are perceived of... Aww. That are perceived of as particularly dangerous alongside like sperm whales and a few others. Let us slide. Look at how cute the turtles are. Look at how cute they are. Good turtle. Whee! There's two. Is there a third? There's probably a third. Yes, I hear a third. Whee! Up we get. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how the turtle got up there. All that matters is that it is up there and it is no longer. No. Achievement. You cannot name that turtle soup. You cannot do that. Bad achievements. Now, what sea turtles are doing in the Arctic, I don't super know, but you roll with it. Oh, and by the way, Harmonitos, I didn't thank you when you did follow, but thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it a lot. She did have a co-device, yes. But the little one still did, which means implies a very strange evolutionary behavior. Also, these people froze. You see, have a supervisor and a workman. And they froze. So what the heck happened here? And also, no, thank you. Of course, yes. Hey, look. Aww. Aww. I like whales. But yes, Fimbulvetter appeared to have hit very suddenly and very, unfortunately. And... Hello? Okay, back and forth. Okay, that's enough of that. Hey, look. It's more furniture moving. Those tails are not at all hydrodynamic, but it doesn't matter because those tails are beautiful. Also, you have done literally zero helpful things the entire time. I wanted to saw her for being unhelpful for literally the entire game that she has been in so far. She opened up one door that we could have opened ourselves, and has done otherwise nothing useful. Also, a very suspicious way of walking. Just gonna say, like, all fours running like that is a super suspicious way to cross a tree, even if it's an efficient one. And we're crossing this bridge in the narrow canyons. You may have noticed the style of the rocks has actually changed, which I love. I love when games make the rocks look different in different areas. The rocks are a lot pointier, a lot more kind of volcanic basalt type, a little bit more like pillars as we get up north here compared to where they were, where we have this totally this locked off kind of place with, you can see the same kind of actually shingles that we would expect from Northern Europe and pre-modern or early modern Northern Europe. Also, yeah, everyone appears to have frozen, and in everyone freezing, weird stuff happens. Because clearly there were some trolls as part of this group. So, who were they? What the heck were they doing? What is life? Why are these trees floating? The world may never know. Puff puff. Puff 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 puff. Puff puff puff. Puff puff. We will definitely never know, having done several murders. Just okay. No, you're right. That is technically helpful. But I question the logistics. I question how you adjusted the aim. Anyway, we have got to this other place now. And this other place, you can see it has these incredibly pointed roofs and the same kind of scale shingles we saw earlier on. And so yeah, I identify like very much with a kind of a Norwegian, Scandinavian, early modern town with something living in it. I don't know if we want to stick around long enough to find out what that something is, given that it is invisible and also has very pointy toes. Ha! It is a little bit, Penzuki, yes. Are you an SCA person, Necra? Hello? Are you supposed to do the thing? Yeah. Okay. Haumst? Stomp, stomp. Fee, fi, fo. Fo, fob. There we go. Oh yeah, sorry. SCA is Society for Creative Anachronism. It's an American medieval reenactment group. Well, gotta admit, this extra party member has finally made herself useful, and as we look out over the harbor, the Scandinavianness should be very, 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 very strong. Because of course, there is only one acceptable, place, a snowy environment has only one acceptable aesthetic, and that aesthetic is Scandinavia. And so away we go, in this extremely stereotyped idea of a Norwegian urban pre-modern setting. Complete with the trolls, but also complete with a trebuchet, or actually I guess that was just a catapult, so some kind of siege material, and now being occupied by some kind of, Trollliga entity. It may have realized that we're here. What? I was going as fast as I could. So, like, huh? Oh, thanks. You're gonna make us rewatch the cutscene. Yeah, you're right. You are right that there are, like, what, 20 kingdoms, of which, what, 3 of them are not in the US. Damn it, I just lost again because my finger slipped. Luckily, he's dumb and bad, and that bridge is, like everything else, is remarkably flimsy for being made out of stone. And so the whole thing just collapsed. Yeah. Oy vey. Yes, quite. So we are now way up at the top of the world. And at being up at the top of the world, look at how pretty it is. Let's ignore it. Let's ignore the love interest. Let's just appreciate the Northern Lights, because, you know, I've never seen the lights this straight or this bright, but I have seen them many times from living in Iceland, and they, as completely ridiculous as they are to imagine looking like this, they are actually this impressive. In real life, they truly are. But, oddly, they occupy very little space in the Scandinavian medieval conscience, while they are a ubiquitous part of, they have an argument and do stupid things, but anyway, they occupy very little space in medieval folkloric conscience. Like, they just don't appear in any of the sagas. No, I want to back up. Let me back up. I want to look at the lights more. Let me back up. Yep. Younger brother don't like it. So, while I say that they don't occupy a lot of space and that they don't appear in the sagas, they are actually described in an encyclopedic text, Konungs Skugsjá, or in Latin Speculum Regale, the King's Mirror, from around 1250 in Norway. And they're described as a marvel unique to Greenland, even though you can obviously see them in both Iceland and northern Norway. But some different ideas are kind of offered as to what they are. One idea was that they might be the sun's rays. They might be the sun's rays. She was the imposter. It might could be the sun's rays reflecting off the edge of the world. It could also be a reaction from just deep underground, kind of like volcanism. I believe that's the one he kind of agrees on. Or it could be just a reflection of gases off of the vapors of the world. Oh, good, yes. Also, arachnophobia warning. A bit late for it, obviously, but, spiders. Nailed it. Hey, stop it. Come on, drop again. Hello? Could you bonk? Thank you. Oh. This one. Leg number 2. Look at how terrible they are. Look at how terrible these fights are. But yes, that ball is supposed to have a hole in it, but it doesn't for some reason. Also, despite being made out of spiderweb, you know, being not very big, has its issues. And, you know, since murder is not cool, and this game is solidly in the camp of murder is not... Now, what is the physics of that? How? Murder is not cool, even to terrible people, and so we are going to keep going on this, and I'm sure it'll be okay. Really, how? Oh no, she has 8. It's just that the first 2 are small and kind of assist the mandibles. But... actions have consequences, and, murder is not good, and there are consequences for our murders. And the dad, being a good dad, knows that something horrible is up. He's not dead yet. But yes, the big bro has lost his, lost track of what they were doing in the first place, and has been punished for it. This of course has consequences. But yeah, emphasis on yet. But we have made it to the World Tree, which is oddly a willow, not anything else. Though I say oddly, it really should not be surprising that a willow is considered an appropriate tree for medicine, given that it was conceived of as being incredibly valuable medicinal. Its bark could be made into tea that had very strong medicinal properties, and was considered in many respects a useful tree for healing people. So, in the context of this game, and the overall goal of curing our father's sickness, it's fine. But it also occurs at the edges of the world, and being up on the edge, we have all of this. Look at how beautiful this is. It is truly the edge of the world, which fits very much with like medieval conceptions of Greenland and the Northern Lights. And, you know, if you're going to put in a reference to Yggdrasil, truly putting it on the edge of the world is super appropriate. But of course, medieval, the pre-modern folktale tradition in Europe is by and large not a particularly friendly one, and as often as people achieve fame and glory and success, they just as often end up meeting with a horrible end due to the consequences of often their own actions. Well, I hesitate to go so far as to say some sort of fatal flaw, because that is a particularly Greek concept, but still definitely that there's a consequence as part of engaging with forces beyond their control, and attempting to accomplish something beyond their level and ability, has consequences and does result in, if you commit sin of some kind, I suppose, would be a good choice, as the brother did by not looking after his father first, and not thinking of his family first in his greed for perceived love and his foolishness there. Death would, in a medieval context, would be inappropriate, though tragic, result. Exactly, kids go into the woods and never come back. Anyway, this being some kind of reference to Yggdrasil, this would be either Ferkelmir or Mimmisbruni, neither of which particularly have healing connotations, but is at least enough. Mimir. Mimir's well. Yes. But I have connotations with wisdom more than healing, but again, mixed with a willow, could offer healing water. Of course, alcohol was also called the water of life, which is literally where like aquavit, unsweetened schnapps, still comes from. But well, that grief is still, while kids and in folktales people go into the woods and never come back, it does not lessen the grief of it and does not lessen the pain that historical families felt on losing a child or losing a sibling. And it's good that when the game has spent so long building up this medieval fairy tale aesthetic, that it grounds that in this pain and emphasizes a part that perhaps gets left out in reading a compilation of stories from centuries after the fact, of that these are incredibly real traumas for that families try to deal with through storytelling. Oh, don't make me do this. Yeah. Yeah. The, yep. It gets me every time too, Leander. Yep. And this part I do genuinely like it in the sense of communicating that trauma. They didn't make us go through the motions of scratching out a grave in the frozen dirt, but they do give us some part of that burial, and just how lonely that is. Of course, medieval people had lots of ways to kind of deal, lots of things they attempted to try and deal with death. Burial rites are hugely important in the medieval cultural context, and they are not represented here. The fairy tale of the Middle Ages doesn't have room for the nuances of through faith and through other means that people try to deal with it. But still, it's good game. And, you know, I'm glad that they don't make us sit in this for too long, because there is always an afterwards. Like, stories don't end, and then he died, and it cuts off before the story is resolved. And now it is life, and, you know, someone we thought we lost earlier is back, and so... gives us a little bit to just kind of reset, as players, and hopefully as the character, to focus on this beauty, and our return in trying to try and do a little bit more. Oh, I didn't notice. It's also a willow here at the beginning, like the tree with healing, and that is almost certainly not coincidental. But, well, it's not auspicious. A trope of pre-modern storytelling, I mean all the way through, Shakespeare does it a lot, is the idea that the medieval, or the natural world reflects the human. And so I've got to say, it's not a particularly auspicious beginning, to have our final scene take place in a thunderstorm. Oh, just didn't make it. Hello, up. And hopefully we're able to climb up there and be okay. But this moment right here is why this game is single player. Remember, the younger brother can't or refuses to swim. After losing his mother, he's stopped being willing to go into a boat or deep water. So we I choose to think that that spirit is real. Even though this game very much takes a kind of a little bit more psychological approach to it, but still, I can't. The whole game thus far has been training you to only that the younger brother is controlled entirely by the one joystick and one button. But at this point, you are required to use both joysticks and both triggers at the same time in order to progress. And you can actually use the joystick too. And yeah, it really does. It only works in not just in a game, but it only works in this game. having trained you mechanically to do something very specific. Uh-huh. And you have to, but the game will never tell you that. It just doesn't. The game absolutely never tells you uh, that you need to use the other trigger. You're just supposed to eventually kind of realize it because it goes against everything the game has taught you up to this point, and as it should. It's a good thing that the game does that. And that is, I think that one moment of swimming is the entire reason this game is single player. Okay, and this where the older brother helps you do things you can't otherwise do. Here, and strong, come on. Up we get. Yeah, that's about right, Leander. But yeah. So, that was Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Of course, the younger son, the usually youngest of three, is a powerful entity in folklore. The youngest brother is the one who is always wise and open and ends up succeeding where others fail, usually through an understanding of the supernatural world beyond what the brother is able to. And so knows throughout the game the younger brother is the one who tends to initiate on kind of playful actions, potentially seeming to be foolish ones, but on playful actions, on helping out mythical the folkloric beings, on talking to them, reaching out for them, and asking them for their help. Far more than the older brother does. The older brother is far more serious, perhaps better socialized, but he's not better liked in the community as a result. Even though he is perhaps, through most of the story, the more dutiful son, it eventually results in his demise. And so this game really does kind of understand a lot of the details of what folklore is and does, and kind of the European cultural context around these stories, and does a really good job representing them, even though some of the designs of things, like this building, end up mixing medieval and kind of early modern and pre-20th century styles fairly freely in order to achieve its desired kind of aesthetic. Yeah, I don't like the Harry Potter version of it because it's kind of the laziest. It is a relatively lazy folkloric story, but it's a very common trope. The three brothers as a folkloric motive is all over the place in the pre-modern context, especially like the Balkans have a ton. They're like that. But one deviation from the kind of the norm of the brothers is that there's very little reward at the end. There is survival, but where in folklore there's personal growth, but in many of these many of the of actual pre-modern folklore of three brothers, the youngest achieves renown, often finds a bride, and material wealth as a consequence. That's no longer something I think that is particularly resonant. We recognize that as tropey and not very impactful in the modern day, and so we are left need to change it, and changing it by making it a much greater focus on the fact that there is not a happy ending in losing a sibling. Oh, interesting. Okay. Looking at these names, looks like most of them are Swedish. Jolstaf Hesto is some of them might be Icelandic, but it is a Scandinavian company. I did not realize Starbreeze was Scandinavian, but clearly are. With some, looks like probably Polish or Central European developers too. So, I'm glad I was identifying it the influences pretty well there, I guess. It's neat. They are making what they know, and what they know is extremely Scandinavian. Yeah, one thing is that's worth noting is that this game in some ways is very broadly kind of medievalist, but there is an extreme overlap between broad, like, European medievalism with that Gothic castle, a chimera, some of those, and in the specifically Scandinavian Middle Ages, as we saw throughout the game. And I think that is an appropriate takeaway going forward, with the show, with this channel, something we'll kind of return to as I keep expanding with games, and it's something I expect we will circle around to a lot, is that the difference between the Middle Ages and the Nordic Middle Ages is very blurry, both in historical reality and in the popular conscious. Scandinavian, Viking, or high medieval pre-modern culture kind of permeates a lot of our ideas of what the past was in the Middle Ages, even in places where that's not relevant. And so, really, you'll see that influence even in things that are supposed to be English or French, to a much larger extent. And that perhaps may be a reason why the Eastern Roman Empire is a little less popular in our idea of the Middle Ages, is that they are not, you cannot bend German Romantic nationalism to fit the Byzantine Empire. It just doesn't work. And so it kind of loses some of the cultural force in that it historically had and deserved in modern imaginings of that past. And so, I don't know, I'll be curious. I'll try and see if there are any some games that aren't like strategy games that kind of look at the Eastern Roman Empire and the Byzantines, and maybe things go well from there. We'll find out. But yeah. So, we are going to wrap up a little bit earlier than normal today, because that only took us 3.5 hours instead of the usual 4. But, we've got a couple of options. I could just hang out and talk to you guys if you guys have questions about, I don't know, either about this or kind of generally about things that have happened recently. I'd be more than happy to sit and talk for another half hour if you guys want. Otherwise, we can also call it a day if you think this was a kind of complete stream in and of and for itself. What do you guys want? We missed a few. Okay. No. Alright. Fair enough. Well then, I have not decided what Wednesday's stream will be yet, but we will look at it, we will talk about I will think about it. We may actually... I don't know, I'm not decided as to what game we'll be playing, but it'll be something, maybe. Alternatively, we might just be looking at more marketing materials, because there are so many of those for games soon. Yeah. So yes, we will call it quits here. If you enjoyed this stream, do consider supporting the channel. As I said, follows and subscriptions are incredibly helpful, both here and on YouTube, to help make sure when my content goes live, spread the word, let people know if you think they'd enjoy it. It will always be free and open, but any support you give helps make the show, makes the channel better, goes right back into the channel, helping upgrade equipment and get more games and do more stuff. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. As always, the VOD will be going up on YouTube later today, and follow me on Twitter and on Discord for be notified of stream scheduling and when I go live. And I will see you guys at the usual time, Wednesday at 7 PM Central Time, which is to say, very, very late in Europe, unfortunately, but I will hopefully see some of you then. Oh yeah, I've had a YouTube channel. All the VODs go there. I've not done anything with it, though I do have plans to eventually make actually YouTube specific content, but not happening in the rest of this year. So, but yeah, the VODs are there. It is a VOD repository because Twitch deletes them after 2 weeks, annoyingly. But yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel then, too. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you all on the next stream. Bye.